Hello, I'm Rob Rowan. I'm with CFA Society New York. Welcome to our podcast, Compound Insights. Today we're talking about the realities of starting your own asset management firm with Ryan Sterling, who is a member and a CFA. Ryan founded his firm, Future Your Wealth, a few months ago. He has 15 years' experience in wealth management at AllianceBernstein, Goldman, and BBR. Ryan, where I wanted to start with this is how you decided to start. Wealth management is a hard place to carve out a niche, but once you do, it's a fairly stable one. So why did you decide to start your own firm?
Yeah, it's one of those things. Actually, I 100% agree that it's easy to carve out your own niche. That said, it actually can be difficult to carve out your own niche inside a large institution. And part of it is, when you have an organization with 100 or 1,000 financial advisors, the really the goal of the firm in many respects is to have you all speaking with the same voice.
Right.
We were able to use social media. That said, it was heavily controlled by the firm.
Mm-hmm.
All the content, even the wording behind our
Mm-hmm.
posts was all internally controlled. So it was one of those things where I wasn't actually able to really be me and work exclusively and attract the clients that I work best with. It was more of just get any client that's above our minimum and adapt to whoever that client is, whatever niche they may fall into.
Right. Sell them what we got.
Exactly. So, I mean, oftentimes you hear, be a chameleon. And I think that's good advice to a certain extent. That said, you tend to attract very few people that are very different, as opposed to maybe not attracting a large part of the population, but attracting the people that you want to be working with.
Right. Okay. And so that is one of your reasons for starting. I presume there were others. Had you always envisioned that you would be an entrepreneur, or was this a lifelong goal or something you decided came to later in life?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm smiling when you're asking that because my father was a serial entrepreneur and is a serial entrepreneur.
Okay.
And so I grew up in a very entrepreneurial background. Ever since I can remember, my dad had a business in the basement. And there were people coming in and out, and you saw. I got a firsthand look of what a startup was really like, and I smile because growing up, it seemed like everyone's parents were teachers or doctors, lawyers, bankers. I mean, kind of the traditional different career paths you see. So it's funny in the 80s and 90s telling people that my dad's an entrepreneur, and people would look at you and say, well, what's an entrepreneur?
Right.
And now it's all the rage, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, this startup culture is here and looks like it's staying here for a while. And of course, with shows like Shark Tank, et cetera, it seems like everyone's an aspiring entrepreneur. But I mentioned my dad's a serial entrepreneur. So he's the type where he'll go into areas and start businesses that he knows absolutely nothing about, but where he'll see an opportunity.
Okay.
My uncle, my dad's brother, started his own asset management firm, focusing specifically on institutional clients. He started in the late 90s.
Okay.
But this was after a career of, it must have been close to 20 years working inside some of the larger firms before going off on his own. So just kind of having those two role models, my father and as well as my uncle, but my uncle having a domain expertise before starting his own firm. When I fell into wealth management kind of right out of college and was growing my career, it was certainly something that, 10 plus years ago, this has been on my mind.
Okay.
And it's kind of like anything in life. There's never the perfect opportunity. So it was always just pushing it. Okay, maybe next year, maybe next year, maybe next year. And then finally I just decided to do it.
Okay. So at this stage, which of the previous skills you built at those firms are you leaning on most heavily?
It's a little bit of everything. I mentioned that I started straight out of college. So when I first started in this business, I was supporting a team of financial advisors as an associate.
You're an associate. Okay.
And as much as I didn't like being an associate necessarily and was doing it as a stepping stone to be an advisor and ultimately to be running a practice, I learned a lot of skills as an associate that I'm leveraging now. In particular, a lot of the admin skills.
Right.
So as much as I would say the number one skill that's important is sales.
Right.
Being able to be in front of prospective clients and being able to get them to move assets to your firm is first and foremost the number one skill that you need.
Sure.
With that also, I'm leaning a lot on kind of some basic marketing skills. And a lot of that I'm learning right now, because now that I'm running my own firm, I need to figure out how to get my message out there to the audience that I want to attract.
Okay.
But in terms of what am I leveraging that I didn't necessarily think about or I needed to dust off, a big part of it is just the administrative jobs that I was doing back when I was 22 years old.
Okay, so break that down a little bit for
Yeah.
the people who can't quite remember when we were associates. What sorts of things are you talking about? Operational, list management,
Yeah.
legal compliance, that kind of stuff?
So it's one of those things. So I'll just give you an example. A year ago when I was working at a large investment management firm, I had a team of associates, and if I came back with a new client, they were the ones processing the paperwork, opening it with the custodian, just getting everything kind of teed up to make sure the accounts are getting open, the accounts are getting funded, working with our back office teams to make sure that the transfers are coming over and being reconciled. So right now, just to give you just a little flavor of it, I'll come back from a meeting with a prospective client who has now agreed to become a client, and I'm going from being the founder of the company, being the head salesperson of the company, and then I'm at my kitchen table at night putting sticky tabs over various spots to
sign here.
and highlighting where to put your social security number and your date of birth and all of that.
Right.
So again, stuff that I was doing a long time ago, basic blocking and tackling administrative stuff I'm doing now. So then actually submitting the documentation, my custodian is TD Ameritrade, I guess soon to be Schwab, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then working with their team, administrative team, to make sure the accounts are getting open in a timely fashion. And then once they're open, working with their back office team to make sure that the transfer paperwork has been submitted correctly and that those assets are coming over in kind the way they should be. And then once assets get there, kind of going through and reconciling, did we get everything that we were supposed to get? Do we have the right number of shares? And then once that is set up, then administratively saying, okay, here's what we have. Now we're going to move it into the portfolio that we discussed,
Right.
and being the person who does all of that. So that used to get done for me.
Right. That's
all
like
on the
3
back
days
end.
of work. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Totally. So it's one of those things where it is starting my own firm. I mean, I say this to everyone right now. I'm 3 months into it, and I'm making 20% the pay for 20 times the work.
Right.
But it's 100 times the fun as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's all your money.
Totally, exactly.
Did you anticipate using any of the skills you learned in your previous jobs now that you're not? Were you surprised on the underside, so to speak?
I more or less knew that I was going to have to lean heavily on my associate days.
Mhm.
It's one of those things where, and this is, I should mention that part of my deciding to start my own firm and why, I mentioned that it's never the right time to start your own firm.
Mhm.
And I kept putting this off every single year. And there's a saying that I like, that the two most addicting things in the world are heroin and a biweekly paycheck.
Right.
So it was always convenient to just push it off. But it seemed like there were a number of things that collided within the last couple of years that helped make this decision easier and made now the right time. I think number one was, I didn't know you didn't necessarily ask this question, but I'll tie it back into kind of what I'm leaning on. But number one was, it seems like, and this is outside of just wealth management, but all across the board, that there's the relationship that clients have are now more with their specific advisor than with the firm itself.
Right. Yeah.
So you think about law firms, for example. Are people tied to XYZ law firm, or is it more the attorney that they're working with?
Right.
You see it with accounting firms all the time, where people move with their accountants. I read an article a number of years ago in the Hollywood Reporter that was talking about a number of agents leaving CAA to start their own agencies and clients coming with them.
Okay.
And the article was, what's more important, the agent or the agency?
Yeah.
And wealth management's no different, right? I mean, people, when they're hiring you, they're hiring you.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last couple of years in particular, I just noticed that people cared more about the relationship that they had with me than the actual firm itself.
Oh, that's funny, because I thought that wealth management almost always worked on that basis. There were limitations in what high net worth individuals could see in a firm. There were limitations on their expertise because they had to look at all asset classes. So basically what they did was they trusted the person who came in the door, or they didn't.
I think it depends on the firm. The firms that I've been at, it's very much been the firm wanted clients to be tied to the firm more than anything else.
Okay.
And I was somewhat of a black sheep in the sense that there were all these resources that you could take to meetings, but I was someone that operated very much on my own.
Okay.
I would do meetings on my own. I would, again, want clients to be tied to me
Right.
more so than tied to the firm.
Right.
So number one, I think this is just a growing trend across the board.
Okay.
Number two, the fact that there have been so many RIAs formed in the last couple of years, the investment offerings are basically on every single RIA platform.
Right.
So when I looked at the underlying investments that my clients were invested in, there were a number of RIA platforms and custodians that could accommodate.
Right.
So it was one of those things where from an investment side, I didn't need to be where I was in order to access those investments for my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think number three, and this is kind of tying it back into the admin side of it, is technology has really increased to the point where there's a lot of different software providers out there that can help make this transition a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
And the prices come down dramatically.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And, these are all web-based solutions for the most part. So, my entire business can more or less run out of my computer, and I could be anywhere. I don't need to be tied to a specific office location in order to work on behalf of my clients.
Right.
So with that too, I mentioned the admin side, the opening accounts, all of that stuff, but also, I'm running all of the proposals. I'm running all of the projections.
Right.
I'm the person in the software on a day-to-day basis who is entering all of the data, the CRM contact information,
Right.
Again, running the various reports. So I don't intend to do it forever.
Right.
And I certainly intend on hiring someone probably at some point this year, maybe 2 people this year.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, I'm actually really, it's actually been a lot of fun just getting reconnected to it.
Okay.
And I think it's ultimately really good that I know how to do this for when I hire someone.
Right. Right. Because that someone might not be there all the time. There are things that happen. Small companies, you can't be a specialist.
That's right. That's right.
You mentioned earlier that there are a lot of RIAs being formed right now, but this sort of ties into the long run plan. There are a lot of RIAs. I mean, I was recently pitched on buying someone's RIA because he wants to retire at a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was kind of crass, but it showed me the level of desperation this person was at. What's your long run plan for your firm?
So number one, I didn't start this to be just a lifestyle job to get X number of assets under management and then just clip a coupon.
Right.
I want to build a firm that extends beyond me. So where I stand today, right now I'm just trying to get this going from all right, I founded this company 3 months ago to I want to get it to a point where I feel like I'm lifestyle profitable,
Right.
close to lifestyle profitable.
Right.
I don't need to get back to the income that I was earning, but I want to get to the point where, all right, this is kind of covering my monthly nut.
Right.
And then from there, think about, okay, hiring people and expanding. But this is something that I certainly, I'm not looking to get back to my former income anytime soon.
Okay.
I'm more or less looking to, once I get to lifestyle profitability, to reinvest back into the business.
Okay.
And to grow this thing, hopefully over a very long period of time.
And how would you, in a perfect world, lots of things can happen between then and now. I get that, and it's never a straight line. But what is your ultimate aspiration with this? Do you see it as like a 20-person firm or a 40-person firm that you call in occasionally? Or
Yeah, I mean, I see this as 100+ person firm.
Okay.
I would like to, sooner rather than later, turn over the operational side to someone. Like, I wouldn't mind in the next 5 years of having a president or whatever title you want to give
Right.
he or she to basically run the day-to-day operations of it.
Right.
I don't want to be working in the business. I ultimately want to be working on the business.
Right.
So if I can be kind of the person that is the one that drives strategy, the one that drives new prospective clients into the firm, maintain some client relationships,
Mm-hmm.
especially some strategic client relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I want to be able to bring people in, train people, and create a culture that where my employees are empowered and where they're they're ultimately also tasked to earn the trust of the clients and to be a point person going forward.
Okay. So going back to how you get there from here, one of the things you mentioned earlier that can be quite difficult for small firms is marketing. So although easier now, as you pointed out earlier, from some social media things, but there are a lot of RIAs, there are a lot of websites, there are a lot of LinkedIn posts. So what's your plan?
So right now, I mean, my number one tool of getting new clients has more or less just been leveraging my network.
Right.
So just letting everybody who I know what I'm doing. And so far in the first 3 months, I mean, that's provided enough work that, I mean, I'm busy right now. There's no question about that.
Okay.
At the same time, though, you mentioned, the being niche focused is really important.
Yeah.
So I'm also a big advocate of the health and wellness space. And, part of my firm's brand and mission is bringing a certain amount of mindfulness and intention to managing your wealth.
Okay.
So a lot of what I'm doing right now is trying to get in front of those audiences by saying, okay, if you're focused on your health and wellness, well, your financial health should also be a component of that. Right. And I don't see it separately.
Right.
And really, again, trying to track that audience that I think is really going to resonate with my message.
Okay.
I've actually just hired a branding firm. So I have a firm that I'm working with right now to really hone that message and really help the people who need my services understand that we're out there.
Okay.
And be able to speak to them.
So maybe I could ask you a couple brass tacks questions now. How many days a week are you working?
So it's funny you asked that. So I'm working without a doubt 6 days a week.
Okay. And how many hours on those days?
So this is the one rule that I have, and I'm smiling right now because more and more of my clients, prospective clients, have actually emailed me on Saturdays and acknowledged the fact that is my day off. So the rule that I have with my wife, who you know well, is she works at the CFA Society in New York, for all the you listeners out there, is effectively Monday, I should say Sunday, all the way through 5 o'clock at 6 p.m. I'm on.
Okay.
So I'm doing meetings. I have some West Coast clients, so I'm doing meetings at 10 p.m. at night.
Okay.
And then I'll turn around the next day and I'll have a meeting at 8 a.m. the next morning. So, I mean, I would say right now during the week, my hours are effectively, call it 8 a.m. till 11 p.m.
So all of them. Yeah.
All of them, right? With the rule that we have, and I'm very protective over this, is at 6 p.m. on Friday, everything is down.
Okay.
And it's the two of us from 6 p.m. on Friday all the way through Saturday.
Okay.
And I've set that boundary. So, I was smiling before because I've actually had a number of clients this weekend email me on Saturday with questions, and they'll say, I know today is the day that you're not working. So, take your time. We'll talk to you on Monday about this. I had a prospective client do that recently, which is the thing about that's really helpful is I'm nowhere other than where I am on Saturday.
Right.
So Saturday, I'm not in the business at all.
Right.
I'm not thinking about it. I'm not daydreaming. I'm very much where my feet are.
Right.
But it allows me Sunday through Thursday to, if someone says, hey, I need to jump on a call at 9:30 p.m., I know I can do it.
Right. Right. Okay. That is interesting because one of the things that is a risk for everyone, and not even those people who are not entrepreneurs, is burnout. And the other risk to people who are required to manage investments is the very difficult mind space you have to get into for inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And that you can't do if you're working 107 hours a week.
Yeah.
First of all, you're a member, so we wish all members good luck in their new entrepreneurial pursuits. So good luck to you. And to all of you listening, thank you for listening. You can subscribe to us on the podcast app of your choice, and please do rate us there if you get a chance. Thank you. I'm Rob Rowan, and this is Compound Insights.